Good evening, everyone. This is Tom Stanley, your state representative and city councilor at large, and this is the Stanley Report, my cable television program in which we have guests from the state or from the city government, and we talk about various programs that taxpayers are funding, and we'd like to draw the connection between where your tax dollars are going and the services that are provided to residents of Massachusetts. Today, I'm very fortunate to have the Secretary of Elder Affairs, Secretary Hartstein, here with us. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. We wanted to talk a little bit about your educational background. If you could tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. I came into this job in 2009 when I was appointed by the governor, and my background before that was primarily in government. I was the director of the Needham Council on Aging for many years. Yeah. Left there and became Assistant Secretary of Elder Affairs, and then left there and was the director of the statewide advocacy organization called the Mass Association of Older Americans, and then came on as secretary in 2009. I have a number of degrees. One of them, well, none of them really in gerontology. I have a bachelor in social work that I got from the University of Kansas, and then a master's in management of human services from Brandeis, and then a master of science in gerontology from the University of Massachusetts here in Boston.
Very good. Now, before I forget, you also have your own cable television show. Is that right?
That is true. I have a program called Senior Scene, and it's available on many different cable stations across the Commonwealth.
And if anyone watching wants to check out the show, and they can just call the local cable access company and Waltham Cable Access and let them know that they're interested in seeing the show.
Exactly. They can just say, see if you can find Senior Scene on the Mass Access TV station, and they can upload it. So. And
before we leave this subject, could you tell us a little bit about what you do on the show, and so why people might be interested?
Absolutely. A little bit about what we're going to talk about today, some of the programs that we run out of Elder Affairs. We'll talk about those, but we do go more in depth in some of the programs, the eligibility requirements, and also some of the volunteer opportunities, the healthy aging issues, all the things that we're going to just touch on today. I go into more depth in the show.
And what is it, like 1.3 million seniors in Massachusetts, I think? Is that correct?
That's about right. Growing every day.
Yeah, about 20% of our residents. And I think if I read the information you gave me correctly, the average age of a Massachusetts resident, or the life expectancy now is 80 years.
80.7.
Yeah.
It's gone up. It was about 80.5 just about 6 months ago, so it's going up every year, and that's because people are living longer.
Right.
And people are hopefully living longer and healthier as well, and that's really one of our goals at Elder Affairs, is to make sure that people have a chance to live healthier. You mentioned that about 20% of people right now, so that's 1 in 5 people, and I say to people, if you walk out on the street, 1 in 5 people you'll see in Massachusetts right now is over 60.
Right.
And if you think about it, that's a lot.
It is.
And we think it'll be 1 in 4 by 2030. So we are an aging society.
Right. I'm in my 50th year, so I'll be 50 next March, and so in another 15 years I'll be right there, and I'll be one of 4, I guess, senior citizens.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I just turned 60 this year. So I'm now eligible for the services that I oversee, and that's rather exciting. And a lot of people say, well, 60 is 60 is the new 40. Say no. 60 is 60.
Yeah.
And it's nothing wrong with being 60.
Right.
So we can talk a little bit about ageism and how that affects all of us if you want to get back to that later. But
Sure.
it's absolutely true that people are living longer, living healthier, and it's up to each of us to make some decisions that can help us do that.
Right. When we talk about some of the programs, like the SHINE program, which I believe, where you originated in your work in this area, and Needham has done a tremendous amount of work expanding the program, and I understand Waltham has a very good SHINE program as well.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you could talk a little bit about that, because I know it's a great program. If anyone doesn't know about it for themselves or for a loved one, it'd be great to them to learn and to be able to access the program.
Absolutely. SHINE stands for Serving the Health Information Needs of Everyone. It used to be elders, but we changed it to everyone now because it's for all Medicare beneficiaries. And it helps Medicare beneficiaries understand the options that they have for their health coverage. And it also helps people complement their Medicare coverage with either Medicaid or some other supplemental insurance. So it really helps people understand their health insurance. Now, we know that health reform has been very active in Massachusetts now for a number of years.
Right.
And Medicare is a primary resource for insurance for people over 65. It's also for younger people with disabilities who also can qualify after 2 years of disability. So there's a full age range of people who are eligible for Medicare. It's very complicated sometimes.
Oh, it is.
And even when my mother-in-law was looking
Right.
to choose a Medicare coverage program, I said, I can't do it. This is my field, and I still went to the council, to the SHINE counselors, who are fantastic at it. They really do help anybody answer any questions they have about health insurance. It's not just choosing which health insurance you want coverage, but also if you have a bill that you don't understand, if you have a procedure that you want done and they're rejecting it, you can go to them. Right. They're really there for all of the health insurance needs that people have.
It's really a wonderful thing, because like you, my parents are getting a little older, and during the past year in particular, they had a lot of health issues, and we were at that stage when we needed to help them, and it was like all these different. There's all sorts of different programs, and like you said, just just with medications and which ones to use and this and that, and without the help of people like in the SHINE program, really, I don't know how we would even do it. And I have a lot of siblings that are helping out my parents, so it's really a great service that people are paying for.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, the SHINE program helps people with their health insurance. So again, if you get bills you don't understand, if there's something that a hospital or a physician or someone doesn't want to pay for, you can talk with them and they can help you appeal it, that sort of thing. They're really good at that. But in addition to that, besides health care, there's also home care. And you were speaking of your parents who had medical concerns. Once they come home, then there's a whole other set of services that people are looking for assistance, and that's where our home care program comes in.
And then, of course, there's nutritional program, Meals on Wheels, community ombudsman, long-term care ombudsman, and different housing and assisted living, so on and so forth. These are all different services that are provided through your office and through Council on Aging.
Yeah, one of our major goals is to talk to people about what they want and what they need, and then find the right mix of services for them. But we really want to start with where people are at. What do you want? What is it that you're trying to achieve? Do you want to stay in your own home and bring services in? Do you want to go to a facility of some sort or to another residence where there might be supportive services available in a different way? So we try and talk with the individual, him or herself. It's done primarily through the councils on aging, where many of them have outreach workers, and Waltham does have a great outreach worker who can go and talk to people about what it is they're looking for. We have a program called the Options Counseling Program, which can actually go into the hospital or into the nursing facility or the rehabilitation facility and talk with people about what they want, so that we can set up the services once they come home. And then you have, once services go in, and then you have some complaints about the services, that's where the Ombudsman program comes in. So it's a whole continuum of services that people can access, both to meet their own needs, to find out about what resources might be available that they don't know about. It's available to the individual, him or herself. It's available to their family and their caregiver.
Right.
So there's a whole range of things. So what I would suggest is if people have any questions about any kind of elder services or assistance in the home or problems that they're having with their health insurance, that they should contact their Council on Aging. It's a great
Right.
place to start for any of those kinds of questions. It's local, it's people who know what they're talking about, they know where the resources are,
Right.
and they can access those kinds of services.
And they're not in a panic mode like you may be with your family, or when a loved one's coming home from a nursing home and you're like, oh, how are they going to use the bathroom facilities or get up the stairs? Where exactly do you have put an armrest, or all sorts of things that you never thought about before, and where do you get these things? And
right. And our hope is that people have that assistance before the person comes home, so you have a chance to talk about it a couple weeks in advance, and you can get those things set up so that when they come home, it's all set.
Right.
There are people who aren't lucky enough to have family and that are on their own, going back to an empty apartment or to an apartment
Right.
alone. And we do a lot of work with those folks as well to make sure they have food in their refrigerator when they come home, that they have the medications they need. I mean, I don't know how many times people are discharged from a hospital with a script. It's like, how do I get to the pharmacy when I don't feel well and I need to go home? So there's a lot of resources available to help people with those kinds of transitions and to make those transitions much more successful.
And the rules are always changing. I mean, all the
Yes.
time, right? I mean, I sometimes, oftentimes actually, my office helps a lot of people as well, and we act as a liaison between maybe the Council on Aging or Springwell, which I'll ask you to talk about, and so you learn something, and then all of a sudden it changes, and in your mind you still have it in your mind or what it was before, and it's hard to keep up with it. But maybe Springwell is the local organization that provides a lot of services as well. Could you talk a lot about Springwell?
Sure. There are, just to put Springwell in perspective, there are 349 councils on aging that are locally based, and then there are regional organizations like Springwell. So Springwell covers, I think, 8 communities, and they provide more of the home care services directly.
Okay.
So they have case managers who can go out and help people assess what their needs are in their homes. They do a full assessment for people, and then help provide the services that both match what the people need and what they want. There's many programs that they offer are subsidized by the state, so we oversee some of those. Some are private pay, and others are free, no cost. Things like information referral, the Ombudsman program, the SHINE program, all of those things can be provided at no cost for people. And then there are others that have some cost, but if you, depending on your income and your need, they can be provided on a subsidy basis.
So the Council on Aging are basically, are they like a direct arm of government, a local government, or and in Waltham's case it is?
Yes, most.
Like down the Cape, it's more regional, right?
Well, no, most councils on aging are supported both by some state dollars, but not very much, but primarily by the municipality.
Yeah.
So most municipalities have a council on aging, 349 out of the 351 cities and towns. So most of them do have a council on aging. Some of them partner with other nearby towns, contiguous towns, to create more of an information center for people. But for the most part, each council on aging has, as a community.
And Springwell is more of a
regional.
a vendor that is contracts with the state to provide services that the state wants provided to its citizens.
Exactly, and again, the councils on aging get some money from the state, from our office, but we give almost $100 million to places like Springwell to oversee services across the state and make sure that people have access to home care, and to make sure that they have access to the kinds of things that make it possible for them to stay in their homes if they have some functional needs. Councils on aging are for everyone. They're for people people who want information about aging. Any senior can go to a senior center, and there's, relatively speaking, no cost to do that. There's exercise programs, all kinds of really fun things happening in senior centers.
If people don't know about all the services that are provided at this Council on Aging, in Waltham, ours is coming up on its 10th, well, the senior center, Stanley Senior Center, named after my father, is coming up on its 10th anniversary this month. But what are some of the programs that seniors can utilize through their Council on Aging. I know, like one may be popular going to a casino or something like that, a bus ride, right? There's other sorts of trips, you know, fall foliage and things like that.
Well, it's very funny you should say that, because when I was the director of the Council on Aging in Needham, one of the things that I said I would never do was take a trip to the casinos. Yeah. But as soon as I left, they instituted those trips, so it's very funny. But Councils on Aging have all kinds of things. They have meals available there. They have home-delivered meals for people who can't come to the senior center, exercise programs, a lot of intellectually stimulating things. I know in Waltham they have the book of the year, or book of the month, or book of the summer, where people read the book and then talk about it. There's films that they show at the senior center. When I was at the senior center, what we did is we said to the residents, "What do you want?" And then we did that. So whether it was bridge or Scrabble or
some
backgammon,
card games being played.
A lot of that. A lot of computer classes now. Almost every senior center across the state, including Waltham, especially Waltham, actually have computer classes where people can learn, and you can take the class that best suits you. So if all you want to do is follow your friends and family on Facebook, it teaches you how to do that. But if you actually want to use Excel and do all kinds of financial stuff, they teach you how to do that as well. So the gamut of learning is really incredible at a Council on Aging. Yeah.
Now, does your show have a Facebook page, or the office? No?
We are in process of evaluating our media, our media strategy, social media strategy. What we found is that you need to be able to monitor it and keep it up. And we just need to find the resources, the staff time to do that.
Yeah, they have to be fresh, otherwise people won't go back.
Right, and there's no reason to do it if you're not doing it well, so we will start doing that for sure. People can find us, though, if they do have a computer, they can find us at mass.gov/ELD. So if they just, in the search engine, just put Massachusetts Executive Office of Elder Affairs, it will find us. And it will find our website that we do have up and active. And as we move more into the social media, it will show up as well.
And we'll try to get that information up on the computer, on the TV at the end of the show as well.
One of the most important ways people, if they don't know where to call at all, we have a statewide phone number called 1-800-AGE-INFO, AGEINFO, which is 243-4636. And you can call that number and get any information. So if you hear something, if your viewers hear something today that they either want to find out more about or think that they heard it, more information, they should call that number. And they can ask their question, and they'll be directed to people who can answer their questions and help them. You
mentioned ageism a little earlier, and I'm sure you could talk a lot about that. And could you do that for us?
Sure. Do you know what ageism is?
Not exactly. I think I do, but
it's essentially people who are discriminated against because of their age. So ageism, it's like racism and all the other isms that we have in our society. And it's primarily when people have a negative view of aging, and so they don't want to become it. But most people don't like the alternative very much, you know. So the question is, what does it really mean? So I say to people all the time, when you think of what it means to be old, they say, what does it mean? And they say, oh, decrepit, incompetent, unable, you know, useless. Those are the things that go along with age. But that's not really what happens. If you think about people aging, if you think about people who go through their lives, they're still very productive. Their productivity may change. They may retire from one job and become community folks. They may volunteer more than they did when they were working, or they may take on a second career. So it's really about our attitude toward aging. And there's a study that was done by Yale University, and it demonstrated that people who had a negative view of aging when they were young, like in their 20s, lived 7 years less than people who didn't have that negative aging, and that their health was worse. So people who fear aging and don't really want to get there actually do things to stop themselves from getting there. So our goal is to say, aging is what it is. You know, you grow older, that's the fact. You know, when you're 15 and you're turning 16 or 17 or 18 and you want to drive, that's not a bad thing. So why is it bad for turn 60 or 65 or 70? And again, average lifespan right now in Massachusetts, it's 80.7 years. And we want people to age as healthily as they possibly can, because what really makes old age problematic is when you're not healthy,
Right.
when you don't feel well, when illness takes over. Most of us live with some chronic disease. Older people live with 2 or 3 of them, but they don't necessarily have to interfere with your life. It's when you have a much more serious health problem that it can interfere. So we're encouraging people to age as well as they can. Again, making sure that people are eating the best they can, not smoking, of course. You know, substance abuse, avoiding substance abuse, and those kinds of things. And it will make a difference, because we know that people who have health insurance when they're younger actually age better. They're healthier when they're older. People who have good education tend to have a healthier retirement,
Right.
both financially and physically. So we know that if we invest when we're younger and we don't fear aging, that we can actually age pretty well.
Now, the Patrick administration, which is primarily through you on aging issues, it has an aging agenda and urges people to begin saving early for later on in their life as well. And maybe you could talk a little bit about what you've been doing in that area.
Sure. Our aging agenda has 9 principles, and it's, I think, available on our website as well. And it says that what happens when you're younger affects how you age. So we know that if people have adequate housing with supports, that they age better. We know that if people have a good basis, a good job, and a good opportunity for preparing for their financial future, that they do better. If they have health insurance, of course, they do better. So the aging agenda says that aging begins at birth. It's not something that starts at 65. But the aging agenda is for all of us. So it's really about how we choose to live our lives and how we think about each step of the way, so that we're building toward the future and not toward the end.
Right.
Because the end will come. There's no question. There's a new saying that says that the people who are going to live to 120 are being born today.
I saw that, yeah.
And that's absolutely true. Again, the lifespan
150
is increasing.
even. The first person that will live to 150
right.
is alive today.
That's it, right? So we know that people are going to live a lot longer, and people need to prepare for a longer life. So as parents, when we're young, we prepare for our kids to go to college or to go to technical school, whatever it is. And what we really want to do is make sure that we're preparing people for the long life they're going to have.
Right. Well, very good. Is there anything else you want to talk about with regards to your agency and Secretariat?
Yes, I just want to say that we are a full-service information center for people who are older, for their families, for their caregivers especially. We know that probably 90 to 95% of the caregiving that happens for people is when they're is by informal support. So we want to make sure everyone knows that we're here to support everyone, and that if they have any questions or comments or need additional information, they should certainly either go online or call us at our 1-800-AGE-INFO phone number.
And this year, we were talking a little bit earlier about the budget. We, as a state representative and city councilor, I'm able to participate in funding for services for seniors at both levels of government. And this was a particularly good year at the state level, if you want to mention a few of the things that we were able to fund properly this year.
Yep, in the budget this year, and I want to thank you for your support of Elder Services. It's been fantastic in the House. It's been really wonderful over the years. The governor added some dollars in his budget to support our Protective Services program. The House was very generous with the Councils on Aging line item as well as Protective Services.
Right.
And then the Senate added some money for our home care program to eliminate our home care wait list. So all those things put together with support from all 3 branches of government, I think will prove to be a good budget once it comes out. It's not out yet, obviously.
Well, I think that's about all the time we have, and we really want to thank you for coming on the show. And you've really been an excellent public servant and a leader in the Patrick administration. I know you have a lot of passion for the job, and been doing a lot of great things. And we really appreciate, as an elected official and a resident of Massachusetts with aging parents and as you said, we're all aging. I'm aging. I really appreciate all the hard work that you've done for the last several years, and I think it's great that you've been here for, essentially going into the Governor Patrick's second term. That the stability is wonderful for the agency and for the seniors that receive the services. So thank you so much, and thank you for coming on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.